Just a few hours, Border Czar Tom Homan will hold a press conference in Minneapolis after meeting with local officials.
It comes as new video appears to show Alex Pretti in a confrontation with federal agents just days before the deadly shooting. Lucas Tomlinson joins us live in Washington with all the details. Hi, Lucas.
Well, good early morning, Carly and Todd. A new video has surfaced showing the 37-year-old Department of Veterans Affairs ICU nurse Alex Pretti spitting at federal agents and kicking a government vehicle, resulting in the destruction of the back right taillight, and some questioning Pretti's reputation for being nonviolent. The incident took place 11 days before he was shot and killed by federal agents. Those federal agents were placed on administrative leave. A family representative confirms it's Pretti. In the video, the family knew about the incident and that Pretti was injured but did not receive medical care. A family attorney says, quote, a week before Alex was gunned down on the street, despite posing no threat to anyone, he was violently assaulted by a group of ICE agents. Nothing that happened a full week before could possibly have justified Alex's killing at the hands of ICE on January 24th. Here was Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey last night.
There was a general agreement that what has been happening for these last several weeks should not be happening into the future. Now, I made it very clear that Operation Metro Surge needs to end.
Did Tom Homan say he would end it?
He did not make a commitment to ending it on any given timeline. However, my hope, my expectation is that the troops and the agents we're seeing will be drawn down.
A new Fox News poll shows President Trump's performance on border security: 52% approve, 47% disapprove. And another poll shows 59% of voters say ICE is too aggressive. Another poll shows 49% of registered voters think local governments like Minneapolis should cooperate with ICE. Mayor Frey says he does not plan to do that. Border Czar Tom Homan will hold his first news conference in Minneapolis at 8 a.m. Eastern after replacing Greg Bovino as the lead of ICE operations in the city. Carly, Todd?
All right, we'll be certainly watching that. Lucas Thompson live for us in Washington. Lucas, thank you. Let's bring in former DHS advisor Charles Marino. Charles, thank you so much for joining us. So there was a big back and forth between the White House and Minneapolis officials yesterday, and President Trump summed it up this way on Truth Social, saying, surprisingly, Mayor Jacob Frey just stated that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws. This is after having had a very good conversation with him. Could somebody in his inner sanctum please explain that this statement is a very serious violation of the law and that he is playing with fire? So now Tom Homan is out there in Minneapolis. How does he work this out?
Yeah, it's a delicate situation in negotiation because somebody is going to have to give, and how give are they going to give? And also, what type of potential political hit will they take? Tom Homan's been clear from the very start of what ICE wants from local communities, including sanctuary cities, and that is to let ICE into the jails, to prioritize those public safety threats in the country illegally, allow state and local law enforcement to work alongside ICE to help them achieve their mission and also provide some level of protection and honor all of these detainers. That is, stop re-releasing these criminals in the country illegally back out onto the street, turn them over to ICE to be handed off. So I expect Tom Homan this morning to restate the case of the White House, which has said, look, this would not have been as messy as it has been if sanctuary cities were to work more collaboratively with us.
And look, Charles, I completely understand that threading the needle on this is extremely difficult. But do you share the concern that many other people have shared, that a concession by the White House on any part of this will just lead to more unrest in other cities beyond Minneapolis?
It will, because if we look at Minneapolis as the case study, it will prove to other sanctuary locations that you can influence through incitement, through obstruction, through threats, the way that ICE goes about its mission. And that's a horrible message to send. The easiest thing for Minneapolis to do is say, look, we're going to help you prioritize the public safety threats that you want, Tom Homan, and can you please shrink down this current operation that's underway so that you can really focus on the threats that you're after. And I think that would be an acceptable response to the White House right now. But the problem is, if they cave in on that one issue and that one issue alone, they are stepping away from their own sanctuary policies. And what kind of a hit within the Democratic Party are they willing to take?
Charles, this video of Alex Pretti is new, and his family's attorneys have responded to it. What's your take on this new footage?
Well, the two incidents, this one was a week before, where we see the taillight of the government vehicle being kicked out with government agents inside, gives us a peek into the mindset of Pretti. And that was, what type of role or activities was he involved in being out there on the street? And it's very clear that he had no hesitation about coming into contact with federal agents in a very aggressive manner. And that is to threaten and to obstruct, both of which took place the week prior to him being shot and killed. Now, though the incidents will be handled separately regarding use of force that took place during the most recent encounter, it does give us a peek into the narrative that Democrats are giving so far on this individual and what his plans were regarding peaceful protests, and the fact that that appears to be false. So if activity and behavior is consistent between the first incident and the second incident, then it kind of changes the narrative of how this may have played out with federal agents that had to use deadly force.
Yeah, I think this really sets up a legal battle with regard to state of mind and when state of mind actually kicks in. I know there's a lot of conflicting case law on this. Be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Yeah. I'm going to go back to your first answer. You said somebody's going to have to blink first. Quickly, who blinks first, Charles?
Well, it's not going to be the White House because of the question that you asked previously. It would set a very dangerous precedent and give sanctuary cities a huge upper hand in influencing the operations of ICE and whether or not federal agencies can enforce federal law unobstructed. That's very important. So I don't see the White House giving on that at all. At some point in time, the ball is in the hands of Minneapolis, Governor Walz. What is he going to do to bring down the temperature? Right now, since that first meeting with Tom Homan, we have not seen much. So we're currently still in a stalemate.
Former DHS advisor Charles Marino, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thanks.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.